Hey, good afternoon. This is the Asylum Answer Show. I'm going to answer your questions about winning asylum in America. I'm Brian Manning. I'm an asylum lawyer. I have a law firm. It's called Political Asylum Lawyers. I used to be an asylum officer with the government, but now, as an asylum lawyer, well, my firm helps immigrants all over the country to secure their future in America through asylum. And I want to see what questions you have about winning asylum in the United States. That's what we talk about here on the Asylum Answer Show is USA Asylum. So say hello. First of all, before you start dropping those questions in the comments in the chat, say hello. Let me know where you're watching from today. I'd love to see where you guys are at. Who we got over there on YouTube? YouTube, hello. LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok. Good morning if you're out on the West Coast. We do have a lot of clients and followers out in California and Oregon and Washington State. If you're in the East Coast, you're well into your afternoon. We have a lot of clients in Florida, Florida, New York, Atlanta on East Coast time as well. So yeah, good afternoon, good morning. Hello, say hello. Let me know where you're watching from. I'm Brian Manning, asylum lawyer. I was an asylum officer turned asylum lawyer, and my firm helps immigrants all over the country to secure their future in America through asylum. Let me know what questions you have. Say hello first, say where you're watching from, and then let me know what questions you have about winning asylum in America. Before I get to your questions, though, hello from Florida, says L. Good to see you, L. Thank you. Oh, thanks for that. Very nice on TikTok. Appreciate that, L. Glad you're here. I want to say first a couple words about this. Does your asylum lawyer have a plan for your case? Look, I was reminded of this issue yesterday during a consultation with someone who was considering, possibly hiring our firm, seeing if, we might be able to help them. And they were talking about how I already have a lawyer, but it seems like they're not really doing anything. And then when I went through and I told the person about the things that we do, like what we do in our asylum action plan, which I'll tell you about in just a minute. When I told them about this, they were like, that's wild. My lawyer isn't doing any of that. And actually, I was not surprised because I learned this, that most immigration lawyers do virtually nothing for their clients. I learned this when I was an asylum officer with USCIS at the asylum office. I was actually shocked to see that lawyers did virtually nothing. I thought that people that had lawyers would come to me well prepared for their cases and have their case outlined well, like in a legal brief from their lawyer, have a well-crafted, well-produced statement that showed me what I needed to see. And that the lawyers would actually know what they were talking about and participate in the interview in a way that helped their clients and showed me how they qualified for asylum. None of that happened. Look, I was shocked, honestly, when I was an asylum lawyer. I was like, are you kidding me? These lawyers do nothing, virtually nothing. Here's the worst. A lot of immigration lawyers will say, when you get your interview notice and you're like, okay, well, let's get started on preparing, practicing for the interview. And they're like, oh, don't worry about it. We'll just meet up 15, 20 minutes early at the office before the interview and we'll go over it. I'll tell you, a few questions I'll ask you. It'll be fine. My friends, that is nowhere near sufficient. Okay. Look, the interview is hard. It's harder than you expect. The officer doesn't just sort of let you explain yourself and tell your story. Rather, asking question after question after question after question. They're constantly interrupting you. They're changing topics frequently. And the sad truth is that many of them are just straight up anti-immigrant and looking for an excuse to deny you. So no, it's not enough just to be like, well, we'll go over the questions for a couple of minutes, for 10 minutes before the interview. Don't worry about it. No, you need to prepare extensively for your asylum interview. So what I'm saying is, when you're talking to immigration lawyers that you're considering maybe hiring for your asylum case, I hope that you'll ask them, what are you going to do for me? Explain to me in detail your strategy, your plan for supporting my case. What concrete steps are you going to take to give me the best possible chance of winning my case? Tell me what you're going to do, because most of them won't be able to tell you. Most of them will just be like, we'll advise you. Yeah, we'll advise you. We'll represent you. Don't worry. That's not enough. You need a plan. Asylum is hard to win. The approval rates are low. And we're talking about your future. We're talking about your safety, your ability to stay in the United States, your ability to stay here and build the life that you've dreamed of building here. The stakes are too high to just sort of leave it to chance. You need to take every advantage you can possibly get. And that means getting the best possible help from someone who actually has a plan for your case. In my office, we use what we call our asylum action plan. It's a 3-step plan where we're first building the case on paper through what we call our asylum roadmap. It consists usually of 3 elements. First, a declaration from your perspective we develop together, explaining the case. I got to stop here. Nick J says, "Oh my gosh, that's basically my lawyer. He isn't doing anything. And I have an interview coming up soon." Nick, it's not on TikTok, or is that Nikki? Nikki, sorry. It's not too late. Call us. There's probably, even if your interview is soon, we could at least do the mock interview probably with you. Even if you keep your old lawyer, some old lawyers are happy to have their clients come to us just for the mock interview that we do, which I'll tell you about in 1 second. So look, 3-step asylum action plan. The first step is an asylum roadmap. We call it that because it's like a map that shows the officer how to get to the answer yes in your case in the easiest way possible. And it's 3 elements: a declaration, evidence that we're gonna make a list of tell you what you should try to get, and a legal brief that we write in my office where we connect the dots. We take the facts of your case, apply them to the law, and do a legal analysis to show how you meet all the asylum eligibility requirements, okay? And the idea with this packet is that when you walk into your interview, we want that officer to already be thinking, okay, based on the documents in this case, I understand the person's case and I can see how they qualify for asylum, and therefore I plan to give them asylum. That's the kind of mindset that we want to establish in the officer's mind before you even set foot in their office. Okay, we're setting the stage with this asylum roadmap. The second phase is preparation. We're going to do a full-scale mock interview. Honestly, I don't know any other immigration lawyers that offer this service. We do with you everything that you're going to experience on the day of the interview from beginning to end. Now, we're able to do this in what I think is a really helpful way, thanks to my experience being a former asylum officer. I got it from Daniel Rivera over here too. Daniel says on Facebook, "I asked my previous lawyer that question and it was exactly what she answered. She would not do anything." So yeah, I've got 2 people, one on TikTok, one on Facebook so far, who have said, yeah, Brian, that's what my lawyer, I asked them what they were going to do. They couldn't give me a meaningful answer of like what steps they're actually going to take. They didn't have a plan. So anyway, I was describing the mock interview that we do. It's key. It's key because the interview is hard, but with the proper preparation, you can go into the interview with confidence, feeling prepared, confident, ready to do a good job. All right. And we'll do everything that you'll experience on the day of the real interview from beginning to end. And then a couple of days later, we'll do what we call a debrief session where we give you our feedback, how you did, how you might want to consider rephrasing something just to try to be clearer or tell your story in a more impactful way. And just give you all of our best asylum interview tips. All right. That's the second step, is the preparation. The third step is the representation on the day of the interview. We're going to represent you during the interview. We're going to make sure the officer understands your case, make sure your rights are protected, make sure everything goes smoothly. Look, I say this with, I believe this strongly based on my experience, both as a former asylum officer and now as an asylum lawyer, that asylum officers act differently when there is an asylum lawyer participating in the interview. When there's a lawyer participating, the officers tend to act more professionally and they just handle the case better. It's like they're on their best behavior, basically. So it makes a difference. I think it makes a huge difference, honestly. So our asylum action plan is 3 steps. It's fighting the case on paper through documents, through what we call our asylum roadmap. It's the preparation, the key of which is the mock interview. And the third step is the representation, where we're advocating for your rights and advocating for your case during the interview. All right. That's our asylum action plan. So look, the takeaway is this. I mean, maybe you'll find another lawyer that you think has a better plan than ours. If so, hire them, not us. Okay. But my suggestion, I urge you to at least ask this question of a lawyer that you've already hired. Or if you're thinking about hiring a lawyer, ask this question: what are you going to do for me? Can you lay out like the actual concrete things that you're going to do to add value to my case? How are you going to help me win? Okay. And make sure they can tell you. And if not, get a new lawyer. All right. That's my take, my hot take. All right. We've got, first person to comment on YouTube. The always faithful Badru says hello from Massachusetts. Hey, Badru, good to see you, buddy. Ankit, hello, says hello. Now he says, can the judge give me a decision in the first hearing? You're talking about an immigration court? Good question. The question is this. Are you likely to get a decision in your asylum case at your first hearing in immigration courts? No. Almost certainly not. Usually in immigration court, there's 2 hearings. The first one is what they call a master calendar hearing. Weird name, I know. This is mainly administrative in nature. Usually you don't have to explain your case and sort of fight your case at this one. However, important things do happen, things that can affect the outcome of your case. So it really is much better to have a lawyer for this first hearing. It's the second hearing, which happens later, called the individual hearing or the merits hearing, where you actually sort of tell your story and you get asked very hard questions by the prosecutor who's trying to deport you and by the judge who often is, I think, trying to deport you as well. And then usually the judge makes the decision at the end of that hearing, or maybe they'll do it in writing some weeks or months after that hearing. So it's the second hearing that is the one where you really make your case and they make the decision based off of that. Okay. We've got, and Keith says North Carolina. We've got Herman Wombo says hello from Maryland. Nice. Good to see you, Herman. Herman Wombo. We got Freeman who says hello, Minnesota. I lived in Minnesota for a couple of years. That's where I went to law school. I love Minnesota. It's nice. Good living up there. I love Minnesota. I love cold weather too. I love it. We got Netsanet says hello, Testafe, Tesfaye. Is that Ethiopian, Eritrean? Sounds like one of those probably from the Horn. All right, we've got Shab says, came to the U.S. on F-1 visa in 2016, filed affirmative asylum, transited through Qatar. Does it negatively impact my case in any way according to Trump's proposed final rule? The question is this. Will the fact that you transited through another country on your way to the United States negatively impact your asylum claim here in the United States? Well, look, historically, the rule has been you would only have a problem due to the fact that you passed through another country if you had permanent residence in that country or an offer to get it. If you just passed through in transit, or even if you were there for a long time, even if you lived there for years on like a student visa or a work visa that was not permanent, then you'd be okay. You would not be subject to what's called the firm resettlement bar. Now, the U.S. government has tried to change this and make it such that you would be barred even if you didn't have permanent residency in that third country. But that's something that it could end up hurting people. But right now it's not. And I think you should not worry about it right now, but be ready to explain it if it comes back into play, this policy. Okay. It's something that an asylum lawyer should be ready to address for you is what I should say. Okay. Bodger says, my friend wants to know if you represent people in Massachusetts that are in deportation proceedings. Absolutely. You didn't know that, Bodger? You watched the Asylum Answers show enough. You should know we represent people all over the country. Okay. All over the country, both in, asylum office interviews with asylum, affirmative asylum with the asylum office, as well as, asylum in removal proceedings in immigration court proceedings. Okay. Eddie says, if someone has a mental health issue, I want to know what's the process of the person, or what's the person expecting at the hearing. What do you mean, Eddie? The process is the same. If you have a mental health challenge, if someone has a mental health challenge that makes it hard for them to like testify or answer questions, that is something that you would want to have a mental health professional document and present. You want to have like a letter from them explaining that and explaining how it might affect you, so that if you have trouble related to this, like trouble telling your story or trouble answering questions, that the judge understands, or the asylum officer understands that, maybe that's why, and they don't think you're trying to be deceitful or evasive or something like that. Okay. But other than that, I mean, it's the same. You still have to tell your story. You have to show them how you meet all the asylum eligibility requirements. We got Hermela Wadojo says, hi. Hello, Hermela. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. Amira says, hello, what's your financial policy? What do you mean? Like, what are our attorney fees? Amira, what do you mean? Like, how much do we charge, or what are you asking? If you're asking how much we charge, it's between like $7,000 and $14,000 depending on the case. But for like a typical asylum case, if it's with the asylum office and we're representing you from the beginning, like from the moment where we're going to start by applying, it's $10,000. If it's in immigration court and we start from the beginning, meaning we're going to apply, it's $14,000. But both of those have payment plans available. Okay. All right. Ankit says, hello, I'm in North Carolina. I had put my asylum on the 7th of February. I have a case, but I want to change to you. How can I connect to you? Nice. I'll tell you. Ankit, will you let me know in the comments? Did you apply with USCIS or are you in immigration court proceedings such that you apply with immigration court? I'm just curious to know. Doesn't matter. Either way, we can help you. And yes, we can help you even though you're in North Carolina and we're based in Texas. It doesn't matter. We help people all over the country. How can you connect with us? Good question. The question is this. So how do you connect with my law firm? If you want to talk with us about your situation and see whether we think we're in a position possibly to help you, we'd love to talk with you about that. Analyze your situation, tell you what we think. And if we think we might be able to help you, we're going to explain to you exactly how, like what the concrete steps we would take are to give you the best possible chance of winning your case, of securing your future in America through asylum. And we do this in the context of an asylum strategy session. You'll do this with one of our asylum professionals. You can schedule that at winasylum.com. You can go right now to WINASYLUM.com. Winasylum.com is the webpage where you can schedule your asylum strategy session. It's super quick and easy to do. You can do it on your mobile. On your mobile, it looks like this. That's what you'll see when you go to winasylum.com. Yeah, we want to talk. We want to see what's going on. So reach out to us now. Okay. Thank you. Let's see. True says, can you recommend whether I should apply for TPS while my affirmative asylum case is pending? If you think, my opinion is, if you think you might be eligible for TPS, you should apply for TPS. Even if you're among the people that Trump has said they're basically ending it for, or not extending it for, I still think you should apply for it. I think you should talk with a lawyer who does that. Honestly, actually, my firm we're not filing TPS for people right now. But I can recommend, if you want to reach out, I'll recommend someone who I trust to do that for you. But my position is, if you think you might be eligible for TPS, yes, you should apply. No matter whether you have an affirmative asylum case pending, a defensive case pending, or you haven't applied yet, if you think you might be eligible for TPS, I think you should. Well, I shouldn't say you should apply. You should talk with a lawyer about applying, because there's a few circumstances under which it would not make sense probably for certain people, but otherwise, yeah, most people, yes. Amira says, when do you expect your clients to pay your fees? We have different payment structures. That, but like all of them though have like a first initial payment, and the initial payment, let's see, for most of our case types is going to be like $4,000 or $5,000. I think it's pretty much all of them are there's a couple things we do that are less, that are $3,000, but most like a typical asylum case is going to be a $4,000 or $5,000 initial payment. And then for some case types, you make like 2 more payments, kind of big chunk payments later. But for certain things, it's just like monthly payments instead of 2 big chunk payments. Okay. But the initial payment to get started to hire us is going to be, in most cases, $4,000 or $5,000. Okay. Oh, nice. Badr says, I referred a friend 2 weeks back. She hired your office and she's happy and how things are going with the good communication with your team. Thanks, sir. Awesome. Thank you, Badr. Thank you for your confidence in us, for your faith in us in referring someone to us. I really appreciate that. It means a lot to me. Thank you, Badr. Send me an email, Badr. Let me know who it is. I'd like to know who it is. Send me an email, Badr, if you don't mind. Daniel says, thank you for sharing all your great knowledge with our community. You're welcome. My pleasure. Daniel, I don't know if you're a Spanish speaker. If you are, if it helps, we've got a Spanish language channel called Asilo Aprobado in YouTube. Go to YouTube, search for Asilo Aprobado to find our stuff in Spanish, if that helps. Oh, interesting question. Diego says, this is a good question. Diego says, are asylum officers trained to make decisions for all types of asylum applications, or are there officers who only handle cases by category, like some of them only handle LGBT cases? Good question. The question is, let me restate it. The question is this: do asylum officers every asylum officer handle like all kinds of cases, or are they sort of trained to be specialized where a certain officer only handles, like, let's say, political cases, and a certain officer handles like LGBTQ plus, membership in a particular social group cases? The answer is they're not specialized. They're trained to handle all kinds of asylum cases, and they do handle all kinds. They don't specialize. They don't get routed like more of a certain kind of case. The only thing I would say about sort of specialization is that sometimes you can ask as an applicant if you have a preference for having a male versus a female officer, or female versus male. You can make that request, and they will give you the gender of your choice. Is one kind of like special. I mean, it's not from their end; it's from your end if you request it. Just wanted you to know about that. All right. Armelis says, my interview is set very soon after applying. Yep, that's happening these days. Most people are getting their interviews right away after applying recently. But now the decision is taking longer. November interview, still decision pending. Look, yeah, the question is this. If you had your asylum interview and now you're waiting months for the decision, what's going on? Why is that happening, and what can you do about it? Look, the why, it could be anything. It's most likely it's just the officer hasn't gotten around to finalizing your case. It's a lot of work to process a case. The officer has to write what's called an assessment, where that's a long story, but it's a lot of paperwork. Most often I would say it's that. Sometimes it's security checks haven't been completed, but that doesn't necessarily mean there's anything wrong. Look, the fact that there's a delay doesn't mean that there's a problem, doesn't mean you're more likely to be denied. So don't worry about that. What can you do? Email the asylum office and call them and say, hey, do you need anything else from me? It's been a few months since I had my interview. Do you need anything? I look forward to getting my decision. Make that inquiry a few times. If you applied years ago and now you're still waiting for a decision, you can sue to force them to give you the decision. But that's only if you applied for asylum like several years ago. Okay? Mehdi Hassan says, hi from Arkansas. Do you provide a lawyer for clients during the interview? Yeah, we represent clients during the interview. Look, in most circumstances, honestly, what our contract says initially is that it's going to be virtual, meaning, look, you as the applicant, you have to show up in person. But they allow attorneys to participate virtually by video conference or telephone. And especially when we don't know when a person's interview is going to be, I don't like to promise them, yes, we can be there in person, when I have no idea whether it's going to be in 1 month or 2 years. But I do promise, look, we're going to represent you virtually. And then once you get the interview notice, if you prefer that we be there with you in person, you can ask us about that. And as long as our calendar allows us to travel to be there in person, we're happy to do that. There is an extra fee though. There is a travel fee on top of our normal attorney fees to be there in person. But we do it all the time. Clients do that all the time with us. We very frequently do travel in person. Clients pay this extra in-person fee, and we travel in person to be there. Our lawyers travel all over the country to do that. Okay. Good question. Diego says, if an asylum applicant has a spouse who's a dependent in their case with a different nationality, can that negatively impact the case? Do they have to prove that they're persecuted in both countries? The question is this: will having a spouse or maybe a child who's a dependent in your asylum case with a different nationality than you, if you're the principal applicant, will that affect your case? For example, might you need to prove that you would be persecuted in both countries? No, is the short answer. All the officer cares about is your asylum claim. All they care about is whether you as the principal applicant meet the asylum eligibility requirements with respect to your country of nationality. They don't care about your spouse's country of nationality or countries of nationality. They just care about the principal applicant. So, the fact that your spouse maybe doesn't even have your citizenship at all, but just has some other country, it doesn't come into play at all in your asylum case. Okay? So that's good. You don't have to. The good news is you don't have to show your asylum eligibility with respect to both countries, right? All right. Look, if you want to reach out, to us and talk and see if we might be able to help you, please go to winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com, and schedule a consultation right now. It's quick, it's easy, super. It takes like a minute. It's quick to get set up with this consultation with one of our asylum professionals. And when you go on your mobile, at least, it's going to look like that you're seeing on my screen. Sorry, TikTok, you're not seeing it. Oh, by the way, look, people on TikTok, talking to you, LinkedIn, Facebook, go to YouTube. All my best stuff is on YouTube. All right. I've got super detailed tutorials, long form trainings on YouTube, all about things that you need to know to give yourself the best possible chance of winning your asylum case. So go to YouTube and search for political asylum lawyers. Okay. Again, it's political asylum lawyers. That's the name of the channel on YouTube where you can find all my best stuff. More Life Omar says, hey, Brian, on YouTube, you're so professional. I'd like to get in touch with you once I get to the US. Do you offer flexible payments? Thanks, More Life Omar. Appreciate it. Tunisia, right? Yeah. As you probably posted that question before I explained this a second ago, but yeah, I mean, we offer payment plans to where you don't have to pay the whole thing at once. It's an initial payment of like usually depending on the case, it's like $4,000 or $5,000, and then there's either like 2 additional payments down the road, or for some case types, monthly payments for a while, for 9 to 15 months in some cases. Okay. Munasib says, hello, I was politically involved with the government in my country and the government was overthrown recently last year. I filed for asylum based on that. Do I have any chance of being deported? Are you in deportation proceedings or did you file with USCIS, Munasib? I mean, do you have a chance? Are you at risk of being deported? Look, everyone who doesn't have permanent residency or already have asylum is at some risk of being deported. But if you've applied for asylum with USCIS and you don't have any criminal background, I think you're at low risk of being detained and deported. Look, I think that having an asylum application pending is the best way to protect yourself from being arrested and deported, okay? Especially from being deported like quickly through what's called expedited removal proceedings. Based on history and policy and also what the Trump administration has said about how they're going to handle this, I do think that having an asylum application pending is the best way to protect yourself from being deported, okay? So look, this is an important message for people that fear being harmed in their country but maybe haven't yet applied for asylum. I think you should talk to an asylum lawyer right away about whether it makes sense for you to apply for asylum. Oh, wow, that's nice. Mary Muley says, Brian, you're the best immigration lawyer I have ever seen. Thank you. That's high praise. Very kind of you. We're on YouTube here with Mary Muley says, I heard that people in immigration court that have not submitted their personal statements are being sent to ICE. Is this true? Oh, I've never heard that. They've not submitted personal statements? Nah. By sent to ICE, you mean like arrested? No, I've not heard that. I haven't heard anything like that. I doubt that's true. I'm very skeptical. Hamid says, on YouTube says, what's the possibility of winning asylum without too much evidence? Just statement. Good question. The question is this: can you win asylum if you don't really have much evidence backing up your case? Yeah, you can. Look, you can win asylum without any evidence at all. Rather, you can win based just on your testimony alone. This means what you say on the day of your asylum interview or your immigration court hearing. Look, it helps to have evidence, right? If there's documentation that backs up what you're saying and supports your case, it helps, right? As long as it's good evidence. Sometimes people have evidence that's actually counterproductive, that hurts their case. So you want to do this carefully with an asylum lawyer. But if you have good evidence, yes, it helps your case. But You can win without it. Okay. We've had clients win without any evidence whatsoever. Okay. Based just on their testimony, but you got to be super prepared to do a great job, honestly, to do an impactful job telling your story and answering hard questions. So it's really, really important to prepare properly. We do that through the mock interview process to give you the best possible chance of winning your case. Okay. All right. All right. Hello, says Siddiqui. Abdul Wahid says hello. Hello. Good to see you here. Thanks for being here. Okay. Ankit clarified. I asked Ankit a follow-up question. Ankit said, I applied through USCIS. Okay, cool. I came to the USA on a B1, B2. I'm an Indian citizen, but was working in the Cayman Islands. And as my work permit finished in Cayman, I can't go back to India. I left India in 2021. So, okay. I mean, look, Ankit, we've helped a lot of people in a similar position. We should talk. If we haven't had the chance to talk, if you haven't talked with someone from my office yet, please go to winasylum.com, WINASYLM.com, and get set up. All right. WINASYLM.com. So Shab says, man, how much do you charge to file Mandamus or get the affirmative asylum interview? All right, good question. So the question is this. So how much does my law firm charge to file the Mandamus lawsuit? We're talking about the lawsuit here where we are filing in a federal court, asking a federal judge to tell the asylum office that they have to give you your interview because the delay in your case, the waiting time is unreasonable. So if you've been waiting for multiple years, you can consider suing in this Mandamus lawsuit to force your interview. It's an incredibly powerful, successful tool that we've been using to great effect, to great success recently. Our clients love it because it works. What do we charge? At the moment that we're having this conversation, $6,500 if you just want our help with the Mandamus lawsuit, just to try to get your interview or your decision after you've already had your interview, $6,500. If you want our help with the rest of your case to actually help you to try to win your asylum case, to do our 3-part asylum action plan to actually represent you in your underlying asylum case, plus doing the Mandamus lawsuit, it's $12,500, at least right now at the time that I'm making this video, but it'll probably go up soon. Okay. If you want to talk, go to winasylum.com, or if you prefer to call us 713-909-0401. Again, 713-909-0401. All right. PaisaAJ.com says on TikTok, hey Brian, if your asylum case is at USCIS, if your asylum case in USCIS is pending, do you have a chance to win the case? Sure. What do you mean? Like, maybe I don't understand the question. You're saying, do you have a chance to win the case if you haven't had your interview yet? Well, I mean, yeah, sure, you have a chance to win. I think. I mean, I didn't talk with you about your specific facts in your case to tell you how strong of a chance I think you have, but yeah. All right. For those of you who joined more recently, I'm Brian Manning. I'm an asylum lawyer. My law firm is called Political Asylum Lawyers, and we help immigrants all over the country to secure their future in America through asylum. Okay. It doesn't matter where you live. We're based in Texas, but it doesn't matter. We help clients all over the country. All right. Ite and Joe says TPS will expire for Cameroonians on June 7th. Is it advisable to still apply for those who haven't applied? As I said earlier, yeah, I think anyone who thinks they might be eligible for TPS should talk to an immigration lawyer about applying, because yeah, I think it probably is a good idea to apply, even if it looks like it's going to expire. It might not expire. It could get extended, even though or renewed, even if it looks like it's not going to happen now, it could. And yeah, I think you should pursue every route to get status, to get legal status, especially any kind of long or long-ish term status. I think you should pursue every route, including TPS, if that's available to you. Okay. Freeman says, is it true that people are being arrested pending deportation when they show up for biometrics appointments? I've not heard it for biometrics. No, I've heard about it for ICE check-ins. I have not heard about it for biometrics, but look, it's possible. Maybe it has, but I think it's much more likely that if someone's get arrested at biometrics, it's probably someone with a criminal record. I can't say that with 100% certainty, But that's the people that I think should really be more concerned. Okay. Okay. All right. Nice. E.T. and Joe, we talked about this yesterday. If you get withholding, but not asylum, can you appeal the decision? The answer is yes. You can appeal and say, I think I deserve asylum. Okay? Yeah. If that's what happened, and you want to learn more about that and possibly do that, yeah, we could help you with that. Okay? Satnam Singh says, my BIA appeal, how much time and will pass, and what if it fails? What can I do? Good question. Their questions are these. How long is it going to take to get a decision in your appeal to the Board of Immigration Appeals? And what happens if you lose, if you get a negative decision? Look, timing is impossible to predict with any confidence. Like, it's going to be at least a few months, probably multiple years, honestly, before you get a decision from the Board of Immigration Appeals. We're talking about the BIA here. Unfortunately, can't give you a good answer on that. It's impossible to predict the timeline. But what happens if you get a negative decision? If they say, no, we agree with the judge that the judge didn't mess up, you should be deported. Well, the good news is there's another level of appeal that you can make. You can make another appeal from that decision to what's called a federal court of appeals, where you're basically saying, hey, the Board of Immigration Appeals messed up. Okay. So all is not lost. All hope is not lost. You have to make that appeal within 30 days of getting that negative decision from the BIA. You should talk with an asylum lawyer right away about that if you get that negative decision. All right. Amira says, how long will it take for your clients to receive their decision? I'm looking for a YouTube video that I want to show you, or that I want to actually, no, sorry, not for this question, for another question, but I want to send the link out here. All right. So yeah, that question was, oh man, where did that go? All right. Sorry. Back to your question. How long does it take for your clients to receive their decision? The question is this. The question is this. How long is it going to take to get your decision after your asylum interview? Well, look, it's going to be at least a couple of weeks. At the end of your interview, the officer will tell you how you're going to get your decision. They'll either say, come back here to the office in 2 weeks and we're going to give you the decision in like an actual physical letter, or don't come back, we're going to mail it to you. If you come back in, it's going to be 2 weeks from the day of your interview. If they mail it to you, it's going to be at least 2 weeks to get to you, probably more. Honestly, often it's a lot more. Often it's many weeks, even months, sometimes even years. If you applied for asylum years ago, and then you have your interview, several years ago, then you have your interview, and then you wait like months to get the decision, you should consider suing to force the decision through a Mandamus lawsuit. I talk about this lawsuit all the time in the context of suing to get your interview scheduled, but you can also use it to force your decision after your interview, okay? Good luck. Man, I'm trying to find this YouTube video because Varun says, how to organize evidence properly to impress the asylum officer. Man, I'm trying to find this YouTube video, that super long training that I have about this topic. Just exactly about this. Let me go to my playlists and see if I can find this. Full length asylum trainings, probably under here. Look, while I'm finding this, let me just tell you, found it. It's called How to Win. I'm going to share it in the chat. It's called How to Win Your Asylum Case Before Your Interview. So I don't know if you've been on this whole call, this whole video, this live, but I explained earlier that in my office, we produce something called an asylum roadmap, which is basically the documents that we produce. It consists of our client's declaration, evidence, and then the legal brief that we write, in which we analyze the case and we and we cite to and analyze country conditions information as well. And we include that country conditions information behind the brief. So it's the packet. And I made a long training on YouTube, very detailed, about how to basically do this. And you can try to do it if you don't have a lawyer. It's best to have a lawyer do this for you 100%. But if you don't have one, then look, this is your next best option. I'm going to paste this in the chat. How to present supporting documents. I'm typing in the chat in your asylum case training. Oh, whoops. I think I just did it in two messages. Dang it. Wait, where'd that go? All right, so check out this video that I'm about to paste right now in the comments. And this is going to be helpful, I think. All right. Go to YouTube. Look, I've got lots of full-length, very detailed asylum tutorials, like trainings about lots of different things you need to know about to give yourself the best chance of winning your case. Go to YouTube, search for political asylum lawyers, and then go to the playlists, okay? And probably the one that's going to be most helpful is the one that says full-length asylum trainings. Those are like my very detailed trainings. All right. All right. Nice. Okay, let's see. What other questions do we have? Varun says, thank you. You're welcome. My pleasure. Do you recommend filing for asylum once arriving to the U.S.? Does it affect the case? So I think I get the question that you're asking. The question then is this. When should you apply for asylum after arriving in the United States? Like if you apply right away, like within days or weeks after your arrival, does it look bad? Should you maybe wait for 5 months, 11 months? What's the timing? Look, I think the sooner the better. I think the sooner that you apply for asylum, the better. I think there's a couple of reasons. First, I think it looks better in the officer's eyes. It makes it look like, okay, this person was actually fleeing their country and knew what they were doing and intended to be to go seek refuge, seek protection somewhere else. They're serious about it. They've been thinking about it, as compared to a situation where someone, files 11 and a half months after they arrive, right before the 1 year filing deadline, because someone told them, oh, asylum could be a way to stay here. I think it looks better when people apply sooner. Also, work permit. You get your work permit sooner. 150 days after you apply for asylum, you're eligible to apply for your work permit based on your pending asylum case. So the sooner you apply for asylum, the sooner you can get your work permit. And I think the sooner you present your case and get your interview and get a decision, the better your chances for success. Okay? In general, in most cases. All right? Which asylum cases, is it harder to win asylum in USCIS or the immigration court? Good question. The question is this. Is it harder to win asylum at the asylum office in USCIS or in immigration court? Well, look, for a long time, historically, the asylum office had a higher approval rate than the immigration courts. That changed. A few years ago, it changed. And now the immigration courts actually have a higher approval rate than the asylum offices. So you have a better chance in immigration court. But listen, you don't get to choose. Like when you come to the United States and you want to apply for asylum, you don't have the choice of saying, oh, I want to be with USCIS or I want to be in immigration court. It goes by whether you are in deportation proceedings. If you are in deportation proceedings, your only option is to apply with immigration court. If you're not in deportation proceedings, your only option is to apply with USCIS. Okay. Whether you're in deportation proceedings or not is a question that if you don't know for sure, if you're not 100% confident, you should talk with an asylum lawyer to sort that out because it's an important question. Okay. By the way, some very high number, I don't remember the percentage off the top of my head, but some high percentage of cases that are referred from USCIS to the immigration court end up getting approved by the immigration judge. What does that mean? When you get a negative decision from USCIS, if you do not have legal status at the moment they make that negative decision, you get put in deportation proceedings. They send your case to immigration court where the government is trying to deport you, but you get a sort of a second chance. You get to explain your case to the judge, and the judge decides whether to give you asylum. And it's kind of like an appeal in the sense that, the asylum officer has said you do not qualify for asylum, but you get another chance. Well, the judges in immigration court have a different opinion and say, yes, you do deserve asylum. A very high percentage of the time, or very, very frequently, very often, they say, yes, you do get asylum after the asylum officer has said no. So basically what I'm saying is the fact that you got a negative decision from the asylum office and got put in immigration court proceedings, it's not the end of the road. Doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get deported or lose your case. There's still probably a decent chance to win in immigration court, because very often, even though the asylum officer said no, the immigration judge often says yes. Okay. All right. What is the success rate? Marlar in WE says, what's the success rate for asylum seekers from Burma? I don't know. I don't know the percentage, but it's pretty high. It's fairly high. But look, people from Burma lose too. It's true that where was I going with that? Oh yeah. So it's true that there's some countries that have a higher approval rate, right? Like people from Burma get approved at a much higher rate than people from, let's say, Mexico, for example, or El Salvador. But it's still not to the point that I can just say, oh, you're from Burma? Oh yeah, you'll win your case. It's not like that for any country. Okay. Even people from Burma lose their cases. Even people from, countries with terrible human rights records like North Korea could lose their case. It's not easy to win asylum. It's very specific. It's not just, are you in danger? That's not it. It's much more complicated than that. And look, even people that have a good solid case that should win asylum and who are telling the truth, they lose often too, because there's a lot of immigration officers out there that are just anti-immigrant and they're just looking for excuses to deny their case. And if you don't do a good job in presenting your case, or you make some little silly mistakes, it can ruin your case. It can get you denied. So even though you're from a country where I'm like, yeah, you're from Burma, okay, I want to talk because there's probably a pretty decent chance that you have a pretty decent case. There's no guarantees for success. You still need to do everything in your power to present the strongest case possible. Okay. We've helped a lot of people from Burma. We haven't lost one yet. I'm pretty sure. I say that with high confidence. I'm pretty sure that we have not ever lost a case from Burma in my office. If you want to, yet the past results don't guarantee future success. Okay. But, I say that to point out that these cases can be won. We have experience with them and we might be able to help you. We'll see. Okay. All right. Ali Reza says, hey, Brian, thanks to you, I'm going to have my interview in 2 weeks. How long before the interview does your firm provide the legal brief and mock interview? Good question. So Ali Reza on YouTube is saying, he said, thanks to you, I'm going to have my interview in 2 weeks. I think that you'll be okay with me saying that we got that through the Mandamus lawsuit. We sued the government to get the interview. I'm pretty sure. I'm not sure if this YouTube name is in fact the person I'm thinking of, who is our client. But if it is, then this is a case where we got the interview through a Mandamus lawsuit. We sued the government and we negotiated with their attorneys and we ended up getting them to schedule our client's interview quickly. Okay. The question though is, how long before the interview does your firm provide the legal brief and mock interview? Good question. So the question is this. So when we sue the government and get your asylum interview as a result of that, how close to the actual interview date does my firm provide the asylum roadmap, which is a packet where we're fighting the case on paper, including our legal brief, additional evidence, and possibly a statement from the client? How close to the interview, how long before it do we provide this asylum roadmap and do the preparation, the mock interview and the practice session so that our client is really, really prepared? We about a week before the interview is what we usually do for both of those. We ideally, sometimes it takes a little bit longer, closer to the interview to be ready to submit the asylum roadmap. Depends on the timing of the representation of things in it. But the mock interview will usually be, about a week, 4 to 7 days before the mock interview, 4 to 7 days before the asylum interviews when we do the mock interview, and a day or two later we do the debrief session to get you ready, feeling comfortable, confident, prepared to do a great job on the day of your interview. Thank you for being a client. Thank you for the opportunity to support you. All right. Are recent applicants being called for interview now? Is that Aramaic? What language is that your YouTube handle is written in? I think it's Aramaic, right? Probably from maybe Ethiopia, somewhere in the Horn. All right, of Africa. The question is this. How long should you expect to wait for your asylum interview if you apply with USCIS now? So look, everyone knows of people from your community, friends, whatever, that have been waiting a long time, right? There's people waiting 5 years, 8 years, 12 years for an asylum interview. So a lot of people now are like, hey, Brian, if I apply now, like I'm going to wait several years, right, for my interview. I don't have to worry about it for a while, right? No, I understand why you would think that, but no. Long story as to why this is the case, but it is the case that for the last several months, most people who have applied for asylum with USCIS have gotten their interview right away, within weeks to 2 or 3 months, between 1 and 3 months, most of them. Okay, so you got to be ready. I hope you have if you're applying, I hope you have an asylum lawyer who is working hard on the filing they're going to make to fight your case on paper. I hope they're ready to prepare you through a full-scale mock interview and debrief session, and then represent you during your interview. You got to go fast. You got to be ready. There's no guarantee. There's no guarantee. Not everyone has gotten their interview right away. There's no guarantee. There are no guarantees about anything with USCIS, right? Or with the government and immigration in general. But there's a good chance that you'll get it very, very soon if you're applying right now. Okay? What USCIS office has the highest and lowest approval rate, Ahmed? Good questions. The question is this. Which USCIS asylum offices have the highest and lowest asylum approval rates? Look, historically, pretty much every year, the San Francisco asylum office has the highest approval rate, okay? California in general is the best state because the office there in San Francisco usually has the highest or at least second highest approval rate. And then Los Angeles asylum office also has a higher approval rate. So California is the best state. The worst, Boston. There's several that are really bad. Boston is bad. New York is bad. It's weird because the New York Immigration Court has a high asylum approval rate, but the New York Asylum Office has a very, very low approval rate. New York is tough. Boston's tough. Miami's very tough. Houston, where I was an asylum officer, is very tough as well. Good ones, high approval rates. San Francisco, Los Angeles, New Orleans actually has a pretty high approval rate too. Chicago's pretty good. Arlington's pretty good. Yeah. All right. Diego says on YouTube, if an affirmative asylum applicant travels abroad with advanced parole and is denied entry when they get back to the U.S., will they be able to apply for asylum again at the airport, or will they be deported? You almost certainly would not be deported, like put on a plane, if you, again, express your fear of being harmed and say that you want to seek asylum. They should at least give you a credible fear interview. You're going to be detained, though. Someone who does this is going to be detained at least a few hours, very likely multiple days, maybe very long term. Okay. You'll probably get a credible fear interview. And if you get a positive decision, you pass that, then you'll get to present your asylum. You get to present your asylum claim in immigration court before the immigration judge. But you could be detained that whole time, like even during your court proceedings. Okay. Usually after you get a positive credible fear determination, they let you go because there's just not enough bed space to keep people detained. But the Trump administration is finding more bed space. They're sending people to massive military bases in Guantanamo Bay. I just saw a headline yesterday about how they're looking at using military bases in the U.S. to expand their bed space. So I think more people will be detained while their immigration court proceedings carry on after they have contact with the authorities, like in the context of coming to the airport, being denied admission, but saying, oh no, I fear being harmed, I want to seek asylum. I could see those people being detained during the pendency of their cases. Okay. HYP, my spouse, mother, and I are asylum seekers. We crossed the border a year ago, bought a house, and I have assets. Could we be detained while awaiting court? If so, may I sell everything and leave? You could be detained. I think the chances are relatively low, but look, there's no guarantees. There's no guarantees. Could you sell everything? I mean, sure, you can sell it. Like, there's nothing about if you're asking whether there's something about your immigration process that, if there's nothing about, let me rephrase, there is nothing about your immigration situation that makes it like illegal or impossible for you to sell your assets. No, there's not. John Jay says, "Hey Brian, thanks for the information." You're welcome. My pleasure. On YouTube, "Hey Brian, what counts as significant lapse before flight? Is 5 months too long?" Do you mean lapse between like something bad happening and then you fleeing your country? Like, look, I wouldn't worry that much about that. It does look better if you flee right after like the thing. If there's like sort of one seminal moment where something really dramatic or drastic happens, where you're like, oh my gosh, I'm at risk, I have to flee. Fleeing right after that, it does look a little bit better. But look, it's not going to like ruin your case, the fact that you waited longer. Okay. Honestly, I don't even think you need to really worry about having to explain that. Thank you from Ethiopia. Cool. Very nice. TICAS Ruski Vot Privyet says, "Brian, can I do a mandamus since I was pending 3 years now?" Good question. The question is this: when can you file a mandamus lawsuit to force your asylum interview? We're talking about this lawsuit that my law firm absolutely loves because our clients love it because it works. A lawsuit where we're forcing the government to finally give you your interview after you've been waiting for multiple years. So you can win your case, move on with your life, get confidence about your safety, your security, and your life in America, your future in America that you want to build here. How long do you have to wait? Well, look, right now we are saying 3 years for every asylum office except for 2. At the Los Angeles Asylum Office and the Houston Asylum Office, we are only taking mandamus lawsuit cases where the person has been waiting at least 5 years. 5 years for Houston and Los Angeles Asylum Offices. All the other asylum offices, we're doing it at 3 years. We haven't lost one of these cases yet. We filed over 100 of these in the last year and a half or so. Haven't lost one yet. Past results do not guarantee future success, but I want you to know that I think it's a great tool. Our clients love it because it works. All right. No guarantees for success, but I think it's great. Our clients love it. Okay. Okay, now see, I'm going to address your questions, but you got to stop spamming. You got to stop leaving so many. All right. What I mean is the first hearing is to accept the allegations, right? But the allegations were all wrong. If I can prove it, will the judge give the case back or will it still proceed to the individual hearing? I explained this yesterday. Now see, if the judge agrees with you that the notice to appear is like wrong, they reject it, and the government has not met its burden of proof to show that you are removable, then they can dismiss the case. And the case can go away. But usually the government can just create a new notice to appear. They can just redo the document in the correct way, and you will be back in deportation proceedings. They might not do it. They might not want to be bothered or just be overwhelmed with work that day and then they forget about it. Like sometimes those kinds of things happen. But they might still just come after you again is what I'm saying. If the judge... Yeah, that's what I can say. If you want to talk more about specifics about your case, actually, you should talk with my office in the context of an asylum strategy session with one of our professionals. And you guys can schedule that at winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com. That's where we can talk with you to see what's going on, tell you whether we think we're in a position to help you. If we think that we are, we're going to explain to you how, like exactly concretely what we would do to try to give you the best possible chance of securing your future in America through asylum. All right. That's it for today. I'm Brian Manning. I'm an asylum lawyer. My law firm is called Political Asylum Lawyers. We help immigrants all over the country to secure their future in America through asylum. All right. Until next time, our slots, our consultation slots are getting booked up quickly for this coming week. I think we have last time I looked, we had a few spots left for this week that's coming up, but those usually fill up quickly. So if you want to talk with us, please get in touch so that we can sort this out and get you on our schedule so we can talk and see if we think we can help you, and if so, explain how. All right, guys? All right. Thank you, and have a great rest of your weekend. Take care. Stay safe out there. Keep the faith. Keep the faith. I know it's a difficult landscape we're in for asylum seekers, but there is hope. There's hope to win your case. We're going to keep fighting for you.